Go, Michael. We are live. How are you today?
I am doing super, Martin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great as well. Thank you very much.
It's good to be here.
It's
And
good.
hello to everybody, and welcome to AGTP Daily. We go live every weekday, Martin, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to discuss the most important tech stories in the US. Today's Wednesday, the 6th of May, 2026. There's a lot to get to. Let's get right to it. We want to start with Microsoft 2026 Work Trend Index, released yesterday, I believe it was. There's some really interesting stuff there. A lot of talk about agents and agentic AI. And Formula One is embracing AI as well.
Mhm.
I think a lot of the sports are going to do this. Like analytics
Yes.
is really important. Let's see what that. And then somebody published something called the 3 Inverse Laws of Artificial Intelligence. We'll get to that as well. And later in the show, we'll be joined by Stan Smith, a guest, founder and CEO at Gradient AI, to explore how explainable AI is moving insurance from just basic automation to trusted defensible underwriting and operational decision making. So should be a very interesting show.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So Microsoft dropped its 2026 Work Trend Index on May 5th, and it was titled Agents, Human Agency, and the Opportunity for Every Organization. And, you know, I saw something, Satya Nadella actually just came out and said, we need to redesign work. And I want to talk about this in a little bit of detail, if that's okay with you, Martin, right?
Yes. Let's do it.
This Work Trend Index argues that the next phase of AI at work is not like just simply to make people faster and more efficient. It's that agent shifts humans away from execution. If you think about it, like, what is an agent doing? It's doing a bunch of stuff. We use agents inside of our own business as well. It doesn't mean
Yes.
that we're not executing anything,
Mhm,
but it
mhm.
kind of frees us up to do what? Well, to make better judgments, to sit back and think, like, evaluate what the status of the business is or what the status of the thing for which we're responsible is.
Mhm,
And also
mhm.
to say, even though I'm using an agent to do this, I still own the outcome,
Yes.
right? So I'm telling the agent what to do. And the report, so this Work Trend Index, and I believe they put this report out every year. They call this the new agency equation. As agents
Okay.
do more of the execution, humans theoretically, and this is really interesting because I use this word a lot, I want to have agency.
Mhm, mhm.
And as agents do more of the execution stuff, humans are apparently, at least according to this report, gaining more agency, more room to decide like what should get done, right? And how quality should be judged. Because think about it, like you spent a ton of time working on a whole bunch of agentic AI stuff, right?
Tons.
And no, but tons of time. But
Yeah.
part of the reason why you did it was why?
To
To
free
free up
myself
your own
time
time.
to some else, for sure, for sure. I mean, like all the repetitive tasks, all the things that I can automate because it's just like once again repetitive, redundant, right?
Mm.
Definitely super happy to just like automate them with AI, put AI into the workflow to then do something else, right? So like
Yeah.
this is I think this is the first level of use case where AI can be super useful, right? That's the
Right.
first thing that you want to do. You want to automate these repetitive tasks to do something else for sure.
Yeah. So I thought that was super interesting. And Satya
Yeah.
Nadella, like I said, came. So just to be clear about what they did, the report apparently surveyed 31,000 people in 31 countries. So it's not just like a US focused thing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool report. People should download it and read it. And analyzed apparently trillions of Microsoft 365 productivity gains.
Okay.
Trillions. Sorry, I like to say these numbers and then just stop. Just so people can think about, because the numbers we talk about, whether it's investment numbers in the billions, right, in the hundreds of billions, or the parameters that sit inside some of these LLMs in the trillions, or just the amount of data points that people have in the trillions.
Mhm, mhm.
I just think I want people to get their head around like just the statistical relevance of something that's that large,
Mhm,
right? It's like
mhm.
they ask 20 people and have 35 data points,
Yeah.
right? And one of the things that they found, and I thought this was actually kind of cool, is that the most important insight is organizational, right?
Okay.
How organizations deal with this stuff, not technological,
Oh wow.
right?
Okay, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
but here's the other interesting thing, and we know this as well. So here's the thing that you may not realize this, but I do because I worked at big companies.
Tell me.
So Microsoft is arguing that the employees inside the companies are actually moving faster than the companies themselves.
I think that's true. Yep.
But I remember doing it at work.
Okay.
Like I remember literally sitting at my desk going, "Huh, I wonder if I can get information fast." You can imagine what year this was. It was like 1994, 1995. I wonder if I can get information faster on news that's coming out of the United States before everybody knows it's there. So I literally found www.thenewyorktimes.com,
Okay.
which no one knew existed, at least not on the trading desk.
Okay.
But I did it to find out what the Fed was doing because I was
Okay.
trading US government bonds. So I knew before everybody else on the trading desk that the Fed had either raised rates or lowered rates, or were having a meeting about something, or some earnings came out, or that
Okay.
FX rates were going to change, all this kind of stuff. But nobody at the company was going around going, okay, the internet is now a thing. Please go out and use it to be more productive and blah, blah, blah. So I know that inside of companies, people are just going like, how can I do this agentic thing on my own?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is also like part of what's create all the problem with all the non-human identity, right? Like because people are starting to give access to their AI agents, people are starting to deploy their AI agents into their workflow, and there is not yet a structure from the company side to manage all of these new access, all of these new use cases that the team is actually building, right? And so
Yeah.
if the team is adopting AI agents faster than the company, I think this is completely true, because when you need your CTO to actually think about, okay, how we're gonna orchestrate this, and if your CTO need a month or two to build that, the team doesn't wait a month or two, right? Like they are just
Want to get stuff
implementing
done.
right now.
But also,
Exactly.
you have to understand the way procurement happens from an IT department inside of big companies. It could take 6 months for someone just to approve the budget for something.
True.
So, like, again, if you wanted to use OpenClaw or something like that, or do some kind of agentic AI, you may not even be able to do it because you have no control over what's happening on your own machine. It's all centrally distributed. Right. So that's really interesting. And I want to give just a little bit more information here. Remember, I said that this was mostly organizational, not technological.
Yeah.
Microsoft makes the point that, like I said, that employees are moving faster than their companies, but only 19% of AI users are in what Microsoft calls the frontier zone,
Okay.
where individual AI capability and organizational readiness reinforce each other, where they're like way out there in front of everybody else. And another 10, and this is really interesting too, are blocked. So these are individuals inside the company that are like capable of doing things, but they're stuck inside. And this is why I was talking about procurement and things like this. Organizations that have yet to redesign their workflows, because this is the key thing. And it doesn't matter like what technology you have if you don't reorganize the work, the way you do the work. And that's what this whole report is about, right? Is that you cannot take agentic AI in the same way, Martin, that like digital transformation was not simply just taking a document and turning it into a PDF.
Yes.
Do you understand? Because it doesn't change anything. So if you have this existing workflow, and I talk about this a lot actually on ATP, but if you have this existing workflow and all you do is take agentic AI and make it do the workflow the exact same way, you're not really using agentic AI.
Yes, it's true. I mean,
right?
I can speak for ourselves, right? Like everything that we do has changed completely since we have employed agentic AI into our company, right?
Yeah.
We had to redesign every workflows. We had to change absolutely everything on how we do the work. So it's true that before we could actually see the power of AI, we had to change completely the organization of just like how we run our podcast, right? Like,
For sure.
just like think about it right now, like how we do the guests, how we do the topics, like how we do the post production and all of that.
Everything.
It doesn't look like anything like 6 months ago, right? Our entire business has changed completely. All the processes are completely different, right? And so in a global, massive company like ours, it was that we had to change everything, right? So imagine into a even bigger company that's bigger than Undercover Media. I can definitely
Not a lot
imagine
of companies bigger than Undercover Media. Let's be clear about this.
very few. And so that's why like I can only imagine that it's even more like of a struggle, because then you have like way more layer of approval, way more layer of people involved, and security and approval and procurement and governance and all of this stuff, right? That needs to happen as well. For us, thankfully, the decision process is super fast, right? It's we have a
our IT department was really quickly. Those guys are pretty cool.
Crazy. They should have a raise, by the way.
We should all have a raise for sure.
Especially the IT department.
These guys are always complaining about raises. All of them.
I think we just try to sneak in
and find a reason.
Why not? But yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm not surprised, right? I'm not surprised, and I can only agree with what the report says because this is what we have seen in our own company as well.
Right. And look, this is an enterprise focused report, and I want to just read a little bit more if you don't mind, right? So I
Please, please,
made some
please.
notes on this because I read through this article. The article's strongest business claim, and I want to be clear about this, is that the AI value comes from absorption, not from adoption. So what does that mean? It means like buying Copilot, ChatGPT Enterprise, Claude, or any of these things is not the transformation. The transformation happens, as we were saying, when companies just like redefine roles, when they redefine workflows, but also when they redefine manager expectations. And I want to give some, excuse me, I want to give some statistics here. Agent adoption exploded. 78% of knowledge workers now, according to Microsoft in this report, right, now use AI agents weekly. 78%. Active agents, this is really big actually. Active agents in Microsoft 365, so that's their flagship product, right?
Yeah.
Grew 15 times year over year.
15 times. Wow.
18 times inside of large enterprises, which is Microsoft, the place where most people use Microsoft tools.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But here's the other really interesting thing that there are a lot of interesting things here, right? As we said, the report identifies a transformation paradox. Workers are ready, organizations aren't. But listen to this: 65% of employees feel fear falling behind without AI. So they're thinking about it in terms like not just like I'm going to get replaced.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be able to do my job well.
Yeah, I feel like this. Like that's exactly how I feel since 3 months. Like since OpenClaw was released to the general public, I would say that's how I feel. Because then I was like, if I don't use OpenClaw myself, our competitors will. Another cool startup is going to do it, and they are just going to be so much more efficient than us. But at the same time, what I'm feeling as well is if we are actually the guy who use it, then we have a chance over everybody else, right?
Absolutely.
Because we have the possibility, the tools, the capabilities, the knowledge, the will as well to deploy AI into our company, and that's not the case for all of our competitors, right? So which means we are the beginning of a technology, a massive technology shift into the way that we are doing work. And so the way that I feel actually much more than the fear is much more okay, we have an opportunity, we have to take advantage of it, right?
Yeah, and let me run through this too, right? Because Microsoft has no vested interest in saying that there are more jobs or less jobs in the economy. They don't really, right? Because they might, you know what I mean? They're not making your job. They're not taking your job away. They don't have a vested interest in it.
No.
But the report that they put out reframes this labor question. And here's what it says. It says AI does not just automate tasks. It changes the architecture of work. Just think about the implications of that. And yeah, they're right. Some jobs will disappear. We talk about this all the time. Some jobs might be redesigned and new jobs will come out. Here's the key number though, right? Microsoft points to LinkedIn data that says employers created at least 1.3 million AI related job opportunities in the past 2 years.
Wow. We talked to Indeed a few months ago. We should get them on the show to talk about that because they must have the data. Indeed.
But I like one of the reasons why I want to talk about this report is because I've been saying this for months, for longer than months, for maybe a couple of years now, right? Because I've been through all these cycles and we talk about it. It may seem like insignificant, but 1.3 million jobs in the last 2 years created just because of this, right?
Yeah. So compare that to the 80,000 layoff, right? It's like not even 8%, 7%, right?
No,
so
not
it's
at all.
huge. It's huge.
It's gigantic, right?
Gigantic.
Yeah, and
that's a really cool stat.
Yeah, and the cool thing here as well is that the companies that are just like installing AI and not changing their workflows, like they just put it on top of like obsolete systems, are going to fall behind. Yeah, and the companies that actually rework and reevaluate all their workflows, change everything, those are the companies that are going to surge ahead. But here's another really interesting thing, actually, that I thought was cool. Microsoft says explicitly that agents need identities.
Okay.
Remember, we were talking to somebody at Money 2020, this is now a couple of weeks ago, who said, I think this was inside Deutsche Bank, that they have somebody in their treasury team, an AI agent inside their treasury team called Debbie. They literally gave the agent a name. Right?
Yes.
And I think that's, I don't think that that's weird, actually, in a way.
Okay.
I think it's actually kind of important.
Okay. Why do you think it's important?
For the same reason, Martin, that we talked about yesterday when I said I reevaluated the way I thought about humanoid robots.
Okay.
Because I think if the robot doesn't look like a human, it's going to be scary for people. I think
Okay.
people can identify with things that look like them. And if I talk about my agent as Debbie, it doesn't sound threatening. It
Okay.
sounds like
True.
somebody that I went to high school with.
True. Okay, so maybe I'm biased because at first I thought it was cool, and now that I know how the agents are built, because I built them, and now I know they have nothing like a human. So maybe I just know too much, and so now it doesn't help me at all, to have a name.
But that's fine for you, and it's also fine for
Yeah.
me because again, we can't. Again, one of the things I took a psychology class in ninth grade, and one of the things that my ninth grade psychology class teacher said was, "Don't generalize from your own experience."
Yeah. I
Right.
think I'm generalizing too much from my own experience here, for sure.
And the reason why is, like you said, you have way too much information.
Yeah, I have way too much information.
And the idea here is that, excuse me, is that we want people to feel comfortable with it. There's a lot of fear out there, right? One of the reasons why I mentioned that statistic on 1 point something million jobs being created is, or 1.2 million jobs being created, is because there's so much fear about everybody losing their job.
Yes.
And the reality is, statistically, not just my opinion, but statistically, that more jobs are being created in AI as opposed to more jobs being cut in other places that aren't not using AI.
Which makes complete sense, right? So to me,
Yeah,
let's say it's complete sense. That's really confirm, I would say, what we see daily into our company, right? Like the experience that we've been through over the last few months to implement agent AI into our company. And I would say, like, even to go one step further, like,
Go ahead.
you're right. Like, I think step one, you use ChatGPT to correct some emails, to help you with some writing, to make some research for you. Like, that's step one. Step two is when you reorganize your workflow and then you organize. But reorganizing your workflow is a big job because it means giving access to tools, giving access to data, building data layers, building the orchestration layer as well to actually get the agents, to do the proper work at the proper time with the proper data,
Yeah.
and then be able also to know, like, okay, the output of your work need to be saved there, so then actually that just continue to be working constantly, right? So it's a big work. Like, to reorganize your workflow is actually like a very, very big work because you need to think about all of these things, and then on top of that, all the security, all the non-human identity that you are creating along the way, and all of these things. So it's a big work, but I feel, Michael, there is something above that.
What is that?
And I think I'm starting to touch it. I'm starting to experience it with the coding orchestrator that I've built. And you remember that we talked about that like a few days ago, but basically up until now, you use the agent, you give the agent a task, and then you follow up with the agent and you say, okay, today we are going to build this thing. Okay, do that, do this, change this button, access this database, create this workflow, create this run, all of this thing, right? So you are more like an AI pilot, I would say, where you have 1, 2, 3 AI agents that you design, and then you just pilot them to do the work for you, or to do the workflow instead of you. But when I built my coding orchestrator, where basically I put a task, I click go, and then I just go do something else. And I don't need to pilot the AI at all because he has access to the data. He knows what he needs to do, and there is the proper orchestration so that in case the AI is blocked, he can stop, ask me, and then when I have time, I can go back to him. All the asynchronous work that is doable, through the orchestrator.
Right.
I think that's the next step, because you can now all of a sudden say, this work is not for me, that's for the team, and I let them do it completely, right? So now
Right.
you're not the pilot, you're not executing the workflow anymore. You are really just giving work to the team, right? And the orchestration is done in a certain way that in case they need you, they know what to do. There's review process, there's guardrails, there's all of this stuff that are in place to be autonomous, right? And I think this is
Right.
the next step.
So this is actually a really important point.
Mhm.
But remember the size of our organization, and then remember that this report is written for enterprises,
Yes.
which literally could have 50, 60,000 people inside of them. And I listen to sports podcasts all the time, and you'll see where this is going in a second. The general manager's job of a sports team seems like it's to just get a bunch of good players, right? But if you listen to these conversations, what it really sounds like is the GM's job is to keep the GM's job. And but the reason why is because I want to make the point that like one of the reasons why, and because we are smaller than most big enterprises, we can make decisions about what that
way
workflow is,
faster.
or not even decide what the workflow is. Because what you're
Yes.
suggesting is you're not changing, well, you're changing an existing workflow, but you're not deciding what that new workflow should look like.
No, I just give the output that I want, and
What you
then there's a
want.
then there's a working process. Basically, I just worked on the working process to get any job done, right?
Yeah,
And so we don't have like I mean there is a part of it actually that is learning from its own thing, to be able
sure.
to take notes, to save information, to ask me question, and then to
Yep.
save all of that. So there's also like a learning process that is I think today really the big limiting factor, because learning means what? It means adding more lines into the memory, adding more lines into the context, like saving more lines of text, basically, which is the most inefficient way that you can save something. It's like you have a book, and every time you want to remember something, you write that into the book, right? All of a sudden, your book is full. You need a second book. It makes no sense. But that's what we are doing right now with agentic AI, because we don't have a way to fine tune the models. I think that's the solution to all of these problems. But anyway, that's still one solution that exists right now. And yeah, if you like, I'm starting to try to think this way much, but it's so hard, I would say, because it's a whole new paradigm. It's like we have a work to do, I don't do it, I give it to the team and I go. It's so weird.
But again, so I want to make a
Yeah.
bigger point and then get back
Yeah.
to this, if you don't mind.
Tell me.
Right, because one of the things that the report talks about is why do so many enterprises fail to move from AI pilots
Okay.
to creating real business value? You've already given one explanation, but the report says because most companies treat AI like it's a technology rollout when it's actually an overall operating model change. And what you've done is the perfect example of this, but give me a little bit more if you don't mind.
Yes.
Because again, I want to give the stats around this. As we mentioned, employees may be ready, but companies are not. Only 1 in 4 surveyed AI users said that their leadership is clearly and consistently aligned on AI.
Okay.
So just think about, like, should everybody have a PC? I don't know. Maybe we should just do everything by hand. That's the way we've always been. But it doesn't make any sense. But again, if you want to order a PC, it could take 6 months to get it through procurement. But while 45% said it feels safer to focus on current goals than to redesign work with AI. Because think about it. If I work at a big company, I need to get stuff done. I have KPIs, and the thing that I've been given the KPI for is already kind of working. So my incentive to do it, and this is what they call in the report, the transformation paradox.
Yes.
People are pressured to adopt artificial intelligence, but they're rewarded for preserving the old workflow. And the reason why I want to point that out, because the report says this explicitly, and I thought it was interesting in the context of the things that you were saying, where you were like, what do I want my output to be? I don't even care what the old workflow was.
Just do it.
Just get that thing done. But remember, we can decide much faster because because there's less friction in between what we want to get done and who needs to decide that we can do it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I would also add something into that. One of the large problem I think that I've been through, and I've been lucky enough that we were not busy at the time and I could spend my time on, was just the initial few weeks of just learning the tech and making all the mistakes, right?
At the beginning, right? Because remember, we had that one night where we did how many tokens?
Yeah, like in one of the 220 million tokens.
Right, but again, and I want to stop you there just again to make the point,
Yeah.
because you said something, but you said it kind of in passing a few minutes ago. You said I give the agents something to do, and if they have a problem, they stop. Because that's one of the things you learn. That's one of the things we learned is that if you just let them ride, they'll just bang their head up against the wall forever. We talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
But you learned, so now you built in something inside. That's the guardrail you were talking about, where you said, if you don't know what to do, don't keep going. Ask me, just like a regular employee would. But this is what I mean when I say rebuilding this stuff in a way where a human jumps in places where it matters and gets out of the way and doesn't care like how it happens in places where it doesn't matter.
And so two things here. The first thing is this line of actually what does matter for me as a human is very unclear for a lot of people, and I'm not afraid to say that, including me, right? Thankfully, I'm very comfortable with changing my work every 3 months, right? Like I'm not somebody who just do the same thing all the time. But I can definitely imagine that for a lot of people, having to completely reimagine the way they work because the process changes, and plus just like, what am I really supposed to do? This answer sometimes is really, really complicated to answer. Like for example, into our company, Michael, it's really clear that you are the host and you bring a lot of experience, knowledge to the podcast, right? Like this thing is super clear and that's never changing, right?
Yep. Yep.
But for example, for me, it's much more blurry, right? Like, do I do more sales? Do I do more podcasting? Do I do more editing? Like,
Right.
this, I mean, I feel like every 3 months my job is changing. So that's why I'm like, okay, it's great that I am very comfortable with that, right? But it's definitely something that is required today. And I would say I'm not even at my full potential yet because I don't know exactly what my work should look like now with AI, right? It has once again completely changed because AI can do stuff for me. What AI should I build? What workflow do we need? Because what should I actually do myself, right? And
Right.
this answer is really, really, really not clear for me included, right?
So
And so
then,
I think, yeah,
scale that up, Martin. Scale that up, Martin.
mhm.
Again, to big enterprises. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to say this, right? Because
For sure. What is my team supposed to do? This is a real question. This is a real question.
but also, if again, if I want my if I'm in the manager of a team that has 100 people on it,
Yeah.
or like literally, if I'm the head of equities at Goldman
Mm,
Sachs,
mm,
I do
mm,
want people to be able to use agentic AI.
mm.
But how?
Yeah, exactly. What do we start
But
with?
how? What do I want them to do? And then we've said before that companies need to, if they need to build like an agent operating model that
Mm,
everybody understands, they need to build that governance in. They
mm.
need to build like who owns that workflow. Does IT do it? Do I do it at the desk?
Yeah.
And all this
Yeah.
other stuff. But the point is that like we can decide that quickly. But part of the point that the report is making is that for large institutions and large enterprises to do this, it's going to take some time.
Yeah, there's some time, and that's confirmed by all the guests who come on the podcast, right? Like we had plenty of guests
Yeah,
who told us exactly that story, right? It's actually much harder than just sign up to Claude and start doing it, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so 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 I think that this is like one side of the story, and then the other side to that, once again based on our own experience, is that you actually need time to make the mistake and to learn the tech, and
Right.
this is real stuff that you have to learn. And once again, you have to learn first of all what is the tech, what it can do, what are the problems, what are the guardrails, like all the hard knowledge that you need, and then
Yep.
on top of that, what do we actually build? Because what should I do myself, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And this is a real question that when you just start, I mean, thankfully for us, this learning phase was fast, right? Like I just like put in so much hours during like maybe a month, and I made so much progress super fast, right?
Mm-mm.
So that's cool. I'm out of this phase, I would say, right? But I remember that when I was starting, to implement agent AI, it was just like I have no idea, right? Like
Right.
I have
But,
no idea.
imagine if there were 100 of you
And then it's 100 of me, and plus at the same time you have your day to day
today
job to do,
job,
right?
right?
Because it didn't go away, right? So
Because what you don't want to have happen is get
mm,
called into an office, Martin, I need to talk to you. Like your boss just goes, Martin, I need to talk to you. I love all the experimentation you're doing with agentic AI. It's
exactly.
super cool.
That's your
But
performance
you
draft.
owed me a report last Thursday that you still haven't
Exactly.
given me yet, and you haven't done the other thing or the other thing.
Yeah, and then you just
Or
put agent AI on the side, and
or
mm,
something else that may happen is, again, let's say you have 100 people. You could be running really far ahead of those people.
mm,
You could be doing all this testing, all this learning, all this other stuff. And again, in the report, Microsoft calls this owned intelligence.
okay.
There's a term for it: institutional know-how that compounds, over time, because the company itself, not just you as an individual,
Mhm, mhm,
they capture what the agents do, what works, right? So they're doing learning for everybody, what
mhm,
fails, where the quality is maybe not up to snuff for what the company wants to accomplish, and then again, how workflow should be improved. Because again, inside of our company, we don't have that many workflows.
mhm.
But in my head, I'm always picturing like, what would Goldman Sachs do? And just the sheer number of workflows that were there. Right. So
Yeah.
it's much deeper idea than just giving employees like, hey, here's your AI, go for it.
Mhm,
Do you know what I
mhm.
mean?
Also, I
And that
think
makes
there's
it super interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
also I think there's plenty of questions in enterprises around also like making sure that all the AIs are coordinated, that they say the same thing roughly, like they
Yeah,
represent
yeah.
the brand properly, they use the
Yep.
correct
Yep.
font, the correct colors, like all of these little details, but that really matters for a very large
Mm.
enterprise, right? And I think the number one thing I would be scared if in my team they start to implement AI on their own, because that's the only thing that can be done right now, right? There is no course, there is no AI program, because it's just like so new and so fast that it's just a massive mess in terms of the way we learn about AI, and everybody just do it on their own. I think the number one thing I would be scared if we had an employee who were doing all of this for us, Michael, is
Right.
that we become so dependent and have so little knowledge of what is actually going on, that
Exactly.
then we are screwed because we need this employee so much, right? And we
And
don't
that's what
understand what's
this
going
owned
on.
intelligence, that's what this owned
Okay.
intelligence means, right? It's that
Okay.
the organization understands what to do. We're lucky because the
Exactly.
organization is not so big
Yeah.
yet, right? Um,
We are just
but
the
but Martin, there's,
multinational.
there's, there's one more thing that I want to talk about, at
Yeah.
least before we move on to our next topic.
Mhm.
And again, I want to go all the way back to like the 1990s for this because I think it's interesting. When they first started, when they first started putting PCs on everybody's desk, which was radical at the time, there were floppy drives.
Okay.
You could put a disk in and copy whatever information onto that drive you wanted to. And then I remember like in the mid 90s, once they started connecting computers to a network, they were like, that floppy drive, that disk drive is now a security risk.
Huge. Yeah.
Because I could literally go to London, take something off a file system in London or New York, I was in Tokyo, copy it onto a drive, and bring it over to Lehman Brothers. I didn't do that. But literally, somebody woke up one day and was like, that's a security risk. But it's just a disk drive. Think about the level of security risk that goes in when people start implementing agentic AI and have access to databases that they may not have known existed before. All this stuff, right? So that also has to get fixed. And this is part of this owned intelligence, but also part of what this report is talking about when they say the workflows have to change. Because if you just dump agentic AI or AI onto everybody, all these little things need to get fixed as well. It's just not as easy as just going like, okay, everybody's now AI enabled. Have fun. Have a good weekend.
No, for sure. It is definitely not that simple. For sure. So like something that I've seen using AI every day is that it's easier when you build something from scratch with AI rather than trying to rebuild something with AI, right? Like if AI has been
Yeah.
involved from the get-go into the process, it will code it in a way that AI understands. And so then to
Right.
implement AI inside of that is actually much more efficient, right? So
Exactly.
it also had this layer of complexity into a large enterprise where they have legacy systems. Sometimes they even use coding language that are not even used anymore, right? It's like just how many stories we saw, like what's the coding language, Michael, that they use in banks, and there's like only the 60 plus who knows it.
Fortran? I don't know. Could be
Like
Fortran.
like we see like so many stories, about like the banking system was built like I don't know in the 80s, in the 90s, and now it's just gone.
Those
This
guys are
coding
old,
language,
man.
and now they need to hire like people who are over 60 years old because they're the only one who understand this coding language basically, and no one is using it. Using it anymore. So when you have like all of this legacy system, all of this legacy code, and then now you want to put AI into that, it's way harder, right? And then plus all the
Yeah.
problems that we have that we have discussed. But yeah, it's so that's why actually like what we discussed yesterday with the PE type of deal, the private equity type of deal, it makes a ton of sense. If you have somebody from Anthropic or from OpenAI who knows all of this, who is trained on that, and who can actually help you implement step by step, take the management by the hand, take the mid-level managers as well, like and explain to them the education, help them implement these workflows. This is golden. That's the best thing that can happen to you, right? So
Right.
that's super. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Let's switch gears.
Very different. I mean, not so much, not so different.
I can't believe I said that. I almost never use that phrase, let's switch gears, but it just popped in my head because we want to talk about Formula One racing embracing artificial intelligence.
I think this is big.
So apparently Formula One is in the middle of an AI gold rush. Just think about this, Martin. 8 new AI deals were signed across F1 and its 11 teams in the past 6 months alone.
Okay.
8. Okay. AI is now beginning to be embedded in car design, race strategy, operations, and even some of the refereeing that's going on. Okay. 2026 apparently is F1's biggest regulatory overhaul in a generation. Every team, you should know this, had to redesign their car
Yep, completely.
from scratch.
Yes, they did everything again. Yep.
I mean, I think people that are watching the show right now, if you don't already, if you're not an F1 fan, I mean, you probably are. If you're interested in technology, because F1 is fundamentally a technology business. No, Martin, is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. I mean, you need a good driver and a good car as well. That's the combination of both. And the car is highly, highly, highly technical.
I mean,
Just,
look at that
just
picture
yeah, just the engine alone, Michael, cost $1 billion to develop.
to
Just the
develop,
engine
right?
alone. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just insane.
but think about it. You know, we've been on the track. A little humble brag. We've been by like the race pits as well, right? After the race is over, after the quality is over. Yeah. So fair enough. The teams that are in there, but also the teams that monitoring this it's highly computerized and highly technologized. Yeah.
For sure, for sure, for sure, for sure.
But Martin, these new cars apparently generate 1 million data points per second
Oh wow.
from sensors that are all over the vehicle. So just imagine how different a car is. I mean, just a car today from the 1980s to today is just very different. But from last year to this year,
Yeah,
is different.
Yes, very, very different. We changed a lot of stuff. Yeah.
And just think about how you would analyze 1 million data points per second.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. Like it's a really interesting thing
I
because
can
like
see your brain, I can see your
yeah,
brain working. You're like, I
yeah,
watch all the races. I know what F1 is, but now I have to think about it in a completely different context. But again, getting back to the report we talked about prior,
yeah.
and this is why I love like sort of fusing these things together. Because when people think about artificial intelligence in the context of work, they're thinking about these big enterprises that that Microsoft deals with.
Yes.
And yet, F1 is itself is a multi-billion-dollar business.
Yep.
With thousands of employees. It's highly technologized. It's very complex, logistically very difficult. They move those cars from one city in one country to another city and another country
For the next week.
for the next week's race.
Yes.
So it's so complex that even that part of the business is going to have to rethink all of their workflows as well. Because if you're getting 1 million, again, just to put it into the context of the previous segment, if you're getting 1 million, like if last year you weren't getting 1 million data points, you don't have to change that much. You're getting some kind of analysis. Maybe you have an iPad or some kind of computer connected to the car. But it means that at that volume of data, it means that AI is no longer optional.
Yep.
It's the only way to process that much data faster. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I wanted to put it in the context of that to say that like it may seem that those things are unrelated.
No, it's not. It's not. But so I think here there's really two stories. There is a tech story and there is a marketing story.
Go ahead.
Because I think we can say that Formula One teams are in the tech bubble. They are fundamentally a tech business.
Oh my God, they have to be.
They have to be, right? Both in terms of software and hardware. Like they got to build crazy. I mean, they have to build cutting edge cars. I mean, it always amazes me like how much R&D and how much smart people work into this just for racing, right? Like it's always like a massive thing that I'm like, okay, this is beyond words. But it's a fact, right? Like the F1 itself is a highly technological piece of car, right? And it can go super fast. It can take the turns. You know, that's the fastest vehicle we have on Earth, right? And so it's obvious to me that as a tech business, they implement AI just like all the other tech business are doing right now, right? For me, it feels super obvious that it's these engineers and all of these guys, they are going to be the first adopters of AI, just like the Meta, just like the Stripe, just like the Google, because they are in the bubble, they are in the tech bubble, and they just use tech all day long, right? So
But
I think
it also gives them an edge in the racing. Sorry, go ahead.
And so then you have all the normal thing that applies to them, and by normal I mean all the competitiveness that we see at Stripe against Air Wallets, because they want to use AI to be more competitive in the marketplace. The teams, they want to be more competitive on the track, right? And so we see the exact same thing that are applying here, where they want to analyze more data point, where they want to do more testing, when they want to be able to find, you know, the new angle, the new aero philosophy, the new engine little tweak that is going to give them an edge. And that's the game in F1. This is the number one thing. This is the regulation, and this is how you understand the regulation. This is so.
And you want to hear something cool? Actually, I want to do two things here.
Yeah.
Just to say that it's not just F1. there is something going on in the National Football League right now in the
Okay.
United States where the referees
Hmm.
want to renegotiate their contract.
Okay.
But over the last like 3 or 4 years, the NFL has started installing like way more cameras in the stadiums
Okay.
and also putting chips in the balls
Okay.
and trying to understand like how to ref the games in a way that's more AI enhanced, so that they're not
Makes
making
sense.
as many bad decisions as many human decisions. Or because
Okay.
the players complain all the time, oh, the ref got the call wrong and that's why we lost, which is rarely the case, but that's what it feels like. I just want to
Hmm.
make the point that it's not just here. And what the refs are afraid of is actually just being replaced because they changed some of the way the refs do the rules. Now what they're saying is a referee sitting in a room in New York
Can
who's
do
watching the
better.
game on multiple things can do better than a ref in the stadium.
I mean, that's what everybody who look at soccer. I don't know about American football, but everybody who look at soccer at home feels like he can do a better job than refereeing.
Exactly. Touche. Touche. Exactly.
But I would say how many times, and I mean, in soccer it's so stupid, my girl. It's so stupid. Once again, I don't know about American football, but in soccer, before they implemented the replay, like technology, where actually the ref can go and have a look at the
Yeah,
action
yeah,
from
yeah.
the camera
The instant
before
replay.
the referee couldn't do that. So which means, Michael, at home you could see the action from different angles, you could see exactly
Right, right,
what
right.
happened, and the referee was basically left
In the
left
dark, all he
alone.
saw was what he saw, and that was it.
And so obviously at home you were like, I know better because I have much more information. So I think this is like 10x what you are saying right now, right? Now
Exactly.
they want actually to put sensors and cameras and all of these things to actually make it real, and that's why it makes complete sense that somebody who is sitting into a room with all the sensors, with all the camera angles, with all the
Yeah,
replay that he wants, makes ton of sense that he has more information than a guy who is alone within 60,000 people, right? That's something also to keep in mind, right? A
yeah.
stadium is an insane place.
And
It's an
also, to be fair,
insane
most of the,
place.
I don't know about
Mhm.
football, meaning soccer referees, but most of the American football referees are 50 and above.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get back to F1
Yeah.
because I think this is actually super interesting as well, Martin.
Mhm.
Williams,
Mhm.
the Williams F1 team signed a multi-year deal with Anthropic.
As their official
So it's not
thinking
just like
partner.
so as their official thinking
Mhm.
partner, and this is Anthropic's first sports sponsorship. But again, just to put it into context, it's not just like they're theoretically thinking about how they can
Yeah.
use AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're partnering with the
So
guys that make the models. They're
so
bringing
this
them onto the team,
Mhm.
and the Claude branding is actually going to appear. You're showing it on the picture there, but the Claude branding is actually going to appear um,
On the car.
on the car. But also, just like we talked about with the PE guys, right? Anthropic engineers are going to sit with the Williams strategy team during races,
Oh wow, that's really cool. So,
right?
so this is really like the two parts of the conversation that I was referring to. The first one is the tech engineering side of things, where it makes complete sense that F1 as a tech sport is going
Sure.
to use AI,
Yep.
and then the second one is because they use AI and F1 at its core sells sponsorship. That's how they make money, right? It makes complete sense that say, hey, we use Claude. Right, it's like all of our AI is done by Claude, right? And so
Right.
then they become the official AI partner, the official thinking partner, like whatever you want to call it. But the same way fintech and cryptos has dominated maybe the last 10 years of F1 sponsorship, now we are going to see AI, right? And so I think to me, this is a huge sign
Huge.
that the AI marketing war is actually starting, right? Because I was
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Yeah.
waiting. I was like from a marketing standpoint and from a sales standpoint
Yep.
for our own business, right? Like
Yep.
we
Yep.
care about who spend money
For sure.
into sponsorship a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And so my observation up until now was like there is nothing in sports. It's
I
going
want. I want.
to
I want
come.
Anthropic to be our
Yeah.
thinking partner.
Exactly, right. And up until now, my observation was like it didn't happen yet, right? And I thought we were like maybe like 6 months away, but now when I see that technology, actually it's starting,
It's already
right?
happening.
It's absolutely starting right now, in a place where once again it makes complete sense. Claude isn't sponsoring a soccer team. They don't because these guys they're losing AI much less, but
Yeah. Yeah.
F1 makes complete sense. And once again, maybe also like the audience of F1 must be more educated. It's more like, I think it's more like engineers and more people who are into tech.
The
It's
F1
people,
audience itself,
yes,
for sure, for sure.
the F1 audience. That's why we see Revolut. That's why we see like all of this fintech, this banks,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
Salesforce, this Microsoft. Like all of these guys, they only sponsor F1. They don't do NFL. They don't do baseball. They don't do soccer. So it looks like a super natural fit from a marketing standpoint to go to
Mm,
F1, right?
yeah,
So they use the tech, they become their official AI partner. I mean, that's a perfect fit. So which means as well the AI marketing war is starting. And
yeah.
by AI marketing war, I mean there's only 12 teams today in F1, no, 11 teams, sorry.
11 teams, yeah.
There's only 11 teams today in F1, so which means there's just that much sponsorship that they can sell. And so which means AI war is because there's so many competition right now on the AI side, AI models, AI chips, AI like all the solutions that are building right now,
Mm,
that they all want the best exposure, right? So they are all going to be willing to get the most exposure, the best slots, the best, the best sponsorship,
yeah.
which Williams is one of the smallest that you can buy, right? Like, so that's a cheap partnership compared to a Mercedes or
Be
compared
nice.
to a Red Bull. It's
So,
just a
so
fact.
Williams finished fifth last
Yeah,
season. You're right. So it's going to be
yeah.
cheaper to advertise there, to market there, than it would be
Yeah.
on Red Bull or on
Mhm,
Mercedes.
mhm, mhm.
But they're trying to use it. I think because they're now embedding some of the Anthropic engineers inside of their
Yes.
company or inside of their business
Yeah.
or inside of their team,
Mm.
that they should be able to do analysis that they could never do on their own. Again, getting back to
Mhm.
this PE thing that we were talking about
Yes.
before. But imagine if because one of the points that they're making here is that this partnership that they have, just to put a fine point on it, extends beyond just the branding and the marketing.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. That's also the implementation itself. Yeah.
Exactly. They're
Uh,
using it to analyze regulations and sharpen in-race decisions as well. Just imagine being in the pit and just having the AI tell you, like, the tires need to be changed or something. And then you have to argue with, like,
I mean,
Hamilton about whether he wants to change. I'm keeping my tires, kind of thing.
no, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. This is the number one question. This is the number one question. Where do we need to change the tire? So I mean, if AI can help you answer these questions, this is huge, especially now that F1 goes into the direction where they are doing less testing, and there is less, before you always had a free practice session.
Right.
Now most of the Grand Prix they have only two because they do the sprint race. So they replace one of the practice session with a
Right, right,
sprint
right.
race. So which means basically you have 33% time less to actually test stuff, to learn data, to build your strategy for the race. And so when you have the same car since 5 years, you can say, okay, like maybe the data from last year can apply here. But when you are having a brand new
Brand new
car,
car. Yeah.
then you're like really in the dark, right? And so that is where like all the simulation and all the stuff that they do are really, really helpful. And so if you can augment that with AI, it can be a big game changer that at the end of the day can help have better race as well. Because that was one of the biggest critiques was like, if people don't have the time to test and to learn how to make their car good, then there will be winners and losers, was gonna make at the end of the day a shitty race if there's somebody who's so much ahead, right, of the
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
And so that can also help on that side, which is really good. But to me, make complete sense.
And even if they've taken away 1/3 of your ability to collect data because they do the sprint instead of the
Yeah.
third practice race, you're gathering way more data on every practice race than you were last year. Again, not just because the cars changed, but because of all the sensors and all the other stuff. And then you're running it through artificial intelligence. So you actually may be able to make better decisions, even though you're doing less practice.
I think, to be honest, Major, we can't even imagine the impact of AI in Formula One at our level, because we
Because we
see
don't see the data.
because also because we are not an engineer in an F1 team, but we see in our business, in our own little business, I mean, sorry, in our own massively global business,
What are we doing?
um, AI has helped us to 10x our business. Um, so imagine if AI also
Easily.
helped an F1 team to do 10x, right? It's true, and it has the potential to do that. So that can be a big, big, big game changer. Yep.
Yeah. So,
So
so a couple more things, not just Williams,
mhm,
but the Oracle Red Bull team actually built an AI strategy agent. So they're using agentic AI
to the strategy, okay.
that automates data collection during the races, and it tries to find the most critical information to engineers as conditions change on the track.
Yes, 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 yes. This is a big thing, yeah. Yeah.
So again, we talked at the beginning of this of the show, like how agentic AI is changing big enterprises, and I don't think most people think about an F1 team as a big enterprise, but we know from doing research on this and thinking about working with some of these companies that like the Mercedes team is massive.
There's like 1,000 people who work there. Yeah.
Right. So that's big.
Mm-hmm.
And just imagine all of
two guys in
them.
the track.
Go
You
ahead.
need 1,000 engineers. To
Yeah,
have two guys in the
exactly.
track, you need 1,000 engineers. This is insane. Like really, the skill of F1 is just next level.
It is next level, but again, just think about what they're doing and how it's going to give them like real-time support and real-time decision making that they never could have done before. They were trying to do it before, but they couldn't.
This is hard. This is like a lot of situation where you're like, what do I do, right? And that can definitely help. So this is really, really interesting. But I think,
Go ahead.
But I think because Cloud now is your official Williams partner, I'm ready to take a bet that by the end of the year, OpenAI or Meta or Google is doing a massive
by the end of the year, by the end of the week. I mean,
maybe by the end of the week. That's why I say year, because I'm pretty sure to win by the end of the year.
I'll take that bet anytime you want it. By the end of the year,
we see a massive announcement, like something huge, because and Anthropic is good, but OpenAI and Meta and mainly OpenAI and Meta, they always like put so much more money than everybody else. So I think we're gonna see something with either Mercedes, Red Bull, or McLaren. With one of OpenAI or Meta.
I want to check something.
I think we're gonna see something. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised that next year, one of them, either Meta, Google, or OpenAI, replace Louis Vuitton as the title sport partner at F1. It makes way more sense.
So remember how we talked about like categories for sponsors?
Yes.
So in my head, I'm just thinking, because you mentioned Meta, you mentioned who else? OpenAI,
Google, and OpenAI.
Google and Anthropic, right? So who's the one that you missed? Because I was thinking there's one more. AWS is the official cloud and machine learning sponsor of F1, but they also have an AI business, yeah.
They do.
It's different.
It's different. Yeah, it's different. But but AWS is already at the cloud. So for example, like you mentioned the 1 million data points, right? Like they talk about that during every F1 race. Like there is like this segment that say all of this data is captured and sent to AWS servers. So they talk about that. But I think that's not the next level. I think OpenAI is going to say, look guys, we put $1 billion on the table and we become the official title sponsor of F1 itself. The same way.
So I think you're 100% right. And I think that happened. So think about it. We talked a couple of days ago about the PE stuff, right? How Anthropic did this joint venture. OpenAI did the same thing. They call it Deployment Co.
Exactly. We
don't do the same thing. You don't think Anthropic's going to sponsor Williams and OpenAI is going to be like, we're not interested.
For sure. Especially when it makes so much sense.
These guys are punching each other every day.
Exactly. And for do a 1.5 billion PE deal, OpenAI does 10, right? Like this game of
like really, you guys are an odd lot. We're doing a $10 billion deal.
So that's why I'm telling you, either Meta or OpenAI, that's the two that I see who just do crazy deals, right? Like they are going to become the massive sponsorship. So either a team itself, so either one of the big three, Mercedes, Red Bull, or McLaren, with Mercedes and Red Bull being the top two. They are really, really the best team. McLaren is a little bit behind, but Williams is one of the best names in F1. So why not? But yeah, I think either OpenAI and Meta with Red Bull or Mercedes, or with F1 itself, because right now it's Louis Vuitton and Aramco, who have like a ton of coverage, right?
Yeah.
But it makes so much more sense for Aramco plus OpenAI. Really like the fuel plus the AI. I mean, this is like written to me. Like really, this is like just makes so much sense.
So before we run out of time, because I think there's some other interesting stuff here. The governing body, so the people that manage the rules and that monitor the races, they built a new system called ECAT.
Okay.
Every car, all turns, that uses computer vision and artificial intelligence to monitor track limits at every corner for every car continuously. And it's cut the number of decisions requiring human review by 95%.
How all the driver, Michael, they complain constantly
Of
about
course, all
the
the athletes always
decisions
complain about
like
the referees. Always.
so now we are going to say VI is shit, VI is so bad, and all of this. So yeah, so maybe actually the team don't want to sponsor F1. Maybe model don't want to sponsor F1 because you are sure that somebody like Max Verstappen, if there is something against
Verstappen's
him,
definitely going to be complaining.
he's going to say really bad things on TV about the title sponsor. It's not going to be nice. So
Okay, and one more thing, and then we'll do the last topic so we don't run out of time because we don't need a
yeah,
lot of time for the last topic. But a couple more things, Martin.
tell me.
Technology is now the single largest spending category in F1 team sponsorships.
Okay.
Tech deals across all teams hit an estimated $769 million last season. That's
I'm
up
not surprised.
41% year on year. And
Wow.
AI, this is important. Part of your part of your bet that you're making for the end of the year. What are we doing? That AI and machine learning brands
Okay.
accounted for 4 of the top 15 new sponsorship investments
Okay. So
in
it's happening.
2025. So it's already done, as you
So
said.
4 of the 15, right? So which are
Of the
they?
15 new ones.
Okay, but so I don't think we are talking about AI the same way we are talking about, like, we talk about OpenAI, Anthropic, like the frontier model. Like, we are
I'm with you. I'm
only
with you.
doing AI.
I'm just saying
Yeah,
directly. I'm
yeah.
just agreeing with you. I'm just saying
Yes, yes, yes,
directly
yes.
it's going in the same place. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. It's
exactly.
not the same teams, but it's the
I
same
think
companies, but it's moving there.
I think they consider Oracle, Microsoft, Salesforce as AI, right? Because that's what they do a little
Yeah,
bit as
maybe.
well. But here, Claude is a only AI type of business, right? It's a whole new level of AI player, and that's really new. I don't think there's any. I think it's Perplexity who sponsor either Lewis Hamilton or Ferrari. It's not clear to me who they sponsor.
Yeah.
But that has been maybe the first deal. It's a really AI native deal, I would say. Maybe last year, if they sponsor the head of the helmet of Hamilton, so on
Yeah.
every camera that is showing the top of the helmet of Hamilton, you can see a very nice Perplexity logo. So that was the first one that I saw.
Go ahead.
But yeah, now they slowed. That's the second one, and that's just the beginning, Michael. We are going to see way more.
Martin, let's keep doing this. We only have a couple of minutes left. Let's keep
Yeah,
talking about this because I want to give the 3 inverse laws of AI
there's
at
another
the
thing.
end of maybe tomorrow's show. We can talk about
Okay,
it. Yeah, let's do that. So we can keep talking about this. I think you're right. That these AI guys are going to be the ones that are sponsoring this.
for
And
sure.
I think it's way before the end of this year. I think you're
So
100% right.
yeah,
In a way, they can't not do it.
they can't not do it. That's the one sport that makes the most sense for them. If there's one sport that can both use AI and also talk about how they use AI, it's Formula One, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
and the whole value chain of artificial intelligence has to be applied to Formula One because the data analysis, the storage, like all the things. And you don't think there are chips inside those cars?
I mean, this. How do you think you get the 1 million data
That's the
points, right?
point, though. That's the point, though,
Yes.
right? So you have all these chips inside these cars,
Yeah.
and that's going to drive all this stuff too. So even the
Exactly.
chip companies are potentially going to do this as well. Yeah,
That would be interesting to have to
the chip
have
sponsor.
a
Why not?
deal with Nvidia, for example.
But why not? It would make perfect sense. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's why, like, there's so much players, so much competition right now
Mm-mm.
inside the AI space, right? So that's
Yep.
why, like, this is going to drive the competition in terms of marketing, right? So
For sure.
plus here they have both the marketing incentive of, like, okay, we want to get the airtime, we want to be associated with Mercedes, we want to be associated with Red Bull, we want to have, like, the prime spot on the F1 coverage, right? So that's super important. And at the same time, they have the use cases. We sponsor, I mean, actually, Red Bull that is using our tech is the winning player, and that's the first time ever they can do that, right?
Yeah.
Because before, when a fintech or sponsor F1, you know that Red Bull is not winning because they do better cross-border payments, right? Like,
No,
this is
right. Exactly.
there is not an obvious connection, right, between
Exactly.
faster cross-border payments and
That's how they became number one.
and
Better cross-border payments.
so obviously that's not the case. But here AI can actually say, okay, we are powering the best team, right? And plus, if the team also use AI, imagine that's so powerful as
Yeah.
a marketing message, right?
Exactly.
So we have Stan who just joined us. Can you
Awesome.
hear us, Stan? Can you say something?
Awesome, Stan.
Perfect.
I can say
Perfect.
something.
Perfect, perfect. So if everything is working fine, thank you very much for the quick mic and microphone camera check. I will add you to the live. Are you ready to join us? Let's rock and roll. I love that. I hope you enjoyed our conversation about AI and F1.
In mind. So I was like, I wish I'd been on the whole call.
Don't sell yourself short.
Are you an F1
Well,
fan?
oh yeah, you know, it's funny. My family became F1 fans because of the Netflix series,
Oh.
All right.
where you got to see the people and the
Yeah.
drama behind the scenes,
Mhm.
and that got us all hooked.
Okay.
It's
All hooked, okay.
pretty cool. Yeah.
It's
So
Yeah.
you know,
And-
get the
and to be-
personals. I can't believe they get those guys to say, "I hate that guy" on camera, and then have that guy say, "What do you think about him saying that about you?" So yeah,
and to be fair, Stan, what Netflix did for for F1 is what we do for AI companies. We want people to get to know you better, but we're not going to say we hate you.
beautiful.
We won't do that. That's not
Okay.
that's not the way we work here.
Okay, okay, and I won't say anything bad that you can use against me. Well, I
Yeah, let's
probably
not
will,
do
but
that either.
we'll see how that works out. Let's see how it works out. Anyway, great.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. But welcome to the live, Stan. I will let you guys have the conversation and I'll see you after.
Thank you.
Okay. So Stan, again, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
pleasure.
You're in Massachusetts, yeah?
I am. I'm right in Boston, the seaport, kind of the newest area of Boston. It's kind of new, young, high energy. It's great. Our team wanted to be here. It's a fantastic place to have a company and be located in Boston. But Boston's just a great place for high tech.
Oh, it's always been a great. I mean, don't you remember? Are you from the Boston area originally?
I'm a military brat, so I grew up all over the country. My dad
Yeah.
retired. We moved up to Boston. But yeah,
Fair enough. The Route
Yeah.
128 used to be like the
Oh,
high-tech highway.
it was. And then people that work here don't remember
No,
Digital Equipment,
123.
which at one point was the largest single private employer in the state of Massachusetts. They were a mini computer manufacturer, if you know the name,
Yep.
and they're no
Digital.
longer in business. From being the biggest private employer to now no longer in business.
Exactly.
It's the innovator's dilemma. If you read that book, I mean, you got to stay with the technology. You got to move fast, or you just get run over. So,
Yeah, I mean, I would make Martin and I make this case all the time, but I would make the case that, and we'll get to what we have you on for today in a moment. But I mean, just because you're first doesn't mean you last. And we were talking yesterday about like OpenAI and even Anthropic, right? Even if they raise $122 billion and are worth $1 trillion, like those LLMs may not be the last thing we build in the artificial intelligence space. And if that's the case, because microcomputers, which is what Digital Equipment was selling, were the first, but they definitely weren't the last. And they missed the whole PC thing. They missed the whole operating system thing. They're gone. And the market moves way faster now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, if the innovator's dilemma is just the disk drive manufacturers they use to use those examples, the guys who dominated the current market, when the new technology came up, they said, who's going to want to, that kind of technology? And then it turned out everybody. So just time and time again, but they used it because it moves so quickly. I think your OpenAI Anthropic's a great example. And while everybody's fighting the LLM battle, somebody out there is working on a small language model that's going to be, a million times more effective and efficient and cheap. And the data centers, the day they don't need them,
they're gone.
I mean, what?
We could talk about this for a long time, but look at what David Silver, right? The guy who was working at Google, he's building a model that has nothing to do with LLMs at all. He wants to make it learn on its own in the same way that we learn. And that's, in my mind, I feel like that's the way that artificial intelligence is going to get built. But let's get back to you in Gradient.
Right.
So we wanted to have you on because we wanted to understand how explainable AI is moving insurance from basic automation to trusted, defensible underwriting and operational decision-making. We love the insurance business, by the way. We don't think it's boring. We don't think it's unsexy. We've done a ton of work in the insurance sector. We've done multiple shows about insurance, meaning full podcast series on insurance. So we love this conversation. But before we get to like the main thing, why don't you tell us a little bit about the important work that Gradient AI does?
So thanks for the opportunity. So we are involved in the insurance space. I've been in different companies before, and being vertically focused helps you drive deeper, better solutions, I think. And so we've been focused on insurance, and it's really both underwriting and claims management on the P&C side and the group health side, where companies take risk. They're trying to transfer risk from people that don't want to take the full brunt of the risk. That's what insurance provides, that risk transfer. And the best way to do that is a properly pricing the exposure that the risk taker is taking on from the risk transfer, and then also managing those claims once they occur, and using AI to do a better job on both the pricing of that risk transfer, and also the management of the risk that doesn't appear on your balance sheet to manage it and mitigate it and drive the cost and provide better value. Not all of us that buy insurance, we only use it when there's a claim.
Exactly.
And if the claim experience is better, we're going to say this worked out well. If it's terrible, like in many cases it is, we hate the insurance companies. And that I've had a lot of people, their first interview with me was like, why would I want to help these insurance companies? I hate them. And I'm like, well, do you really understand what's behind a claim?
Right.
And they're like, no. Okay, let me explain what happens. And they say, wait a minute, that's a person that gets mistreated. I said, that's right. And our solutions can prevent that from happening. And they're like, oh, so I'm helping people.
Do you want to jump into a little bit more detail there? Because I do think it's important for people. No, it's really important for people to understand this. When you and I are talking about insurance, and the claim is where the rubber hits the road, we know this almost by definition. But for the people that aren't as deeply embedded inside the insurance industry as we are, maybe you can actually talk about, because there is some distrust or a little bit of.
Sure, of course there is.
Right, but where does artificial intelligence, what are the biggest operational challenges that insurance companies face when they want to implement AI? And then particularly when it gets to the claim, how can it make it better? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think there's been challenges across the board. It's getting the data together. A lot of these companies are very large. They have what we would call data silos. So they have some of the data in one system, another subset of the data in another system, and so forth. And we've seen companies that, because they've grown through acquisition, they've got a lot of legacy systems. There's just a lot of different reasons that just getting the data together has been a challenge. And AI is changing that, because AI can now, these LLMs can, on an internal basis, a secure basis, can start to pull data from all these disparate systems, and has the language intelligence to say, okay, I can see that all this information is related to this entity, whether it's an insured piece of business or whatever, and start to gather that and say, I think this is what describes this risk. The humans can then step in and say, I think that agree, but start to understand that life cycle of risk that hasn't been as well understood when it's all chopped up into pieces. And so I think that's where AI starts to bring together the ability to just, by the way, what broker brought you this risk? Does that play a part in the actual risk profile?
Yeah.
In many cases, we've seen it does. And people don't look at it. They just see, well, here's a submission we got. Let's quote it, as opposed to, where'd it come from? Have we dealt with this broker before, this office of this broker before? What kind of risks have they brought us before? Is this typical or atypical of the risks? Is this an outlier that they don't know what to do with, so they're tossing it to us? Or is this just their bread and butter? They know these risks well. This is what they do all the time. And we do really well when we write risks from this broker that way. And there's all that kind of ancillary information doesn't get carried through the typical, here's a submission based on a standard data set that is really typical. Insurance, they want to, if this is work comp, these are the N fields that you must fill out.
Right.
If this is commercial auto, these are the Y fields you must fill out. That's been typical, very, very static, very rigid. This LLM explosion allows it to be a lot more fluid, a lot more humanistic. Like, okay, I can see things, textual things about this that I couldn't see before. It allows, I think, to bring more experience to bear than just the raw data.
Does artificial intelligence and the LLMs allow for the deeper understanding of unstructured data? And then because it can do a better job of understanding and sort of accumulating this unstructured data, make it easier for the claims process to actually get done, if that makes sense, so that it's not so hard for people to either both fill out the form that they normally have to do, or for somebody to understand what the claim is meant to be. And then not parametric insurance per se, because that's kind of a different animal.
It is.
But does it allow that claims process to be automated in a way that can make the customer experience just happier?
So yes to all those. Let me give you a couple of quick examples. So I think what we keep seeing is more and more opportunities to provide more intelligence to the claims operation earlier in the life of the claim, so they do the right thing at the right time.
Go ahead.
Whereas before, if they do it manual, they have to wait for certain information to show up. So our first client we signed years ago, we started telling them things about a claim they just never knew at day 2 or day 3 or day 4.
Right.
And they were like, what do you want? What do we do about this now? And our answer was, I don't know. The model's, predicting this is going to be a high cost claim. We haven't figured out how to tell you what to do about it. With the LLMs now, we actually have ability to what we call next best action. What should you do about this claim on day 2? Should you put a nurse on this claim? And if the models run some sort of what if analysis based on historical claims we've seen before, a nurse on this type of claim and claimant has seen a very strong ROI based on the dollars you're going to spend on the time that nurse will spend on the claim, then the model will make a recommendation. It won't just say, high cost claim, will say, now on this claim for this shoulder injury, a nurse would help reduce the duration and cost this claim by N%. What happens to the person that was injured is a nurse calls and says, I'm here to help with this claim. I'm here to help you with your journey through the treatment that you're going to receive from a doctor, physical therapy, if there's surgery involved. And suddenly the person goes from, what's happening? Am I in trouble? Am I going to get fired? Am I going to lose my job too?
Right.
Someone says to them, look, my only job here is to take care of you. You're covered. All the medical's covered. Your job's going to be waiting for you when you get back. This is an accident. It's not your fault. Reduce that concern, the fear, the anxiety that does take place in a lot of cases
Yeah.
for these folks that don't know what is happening. And if they don't know that's going to happen, for weeks, they can get angry, they get scared. They drive by a billboard that says injured at work, call me, I'll get you a bunch of money.
Right.
Some people, wow, that's a great idea. Let me do that. So it happens all the time. That window of suggestibility is very small and very early. If you take the right actions, and by the way, the alignment of interest is pretty high here. The injured worker doesn't want to be injured. Nobody does.
No.
They want to be healthy. Everybody
Right.
wants them healthy. Their family, their employer,
It's
the
in
insurance
everybody's
company
best
wants them
interest for
healthy.
everybody to be as healthy as possible, for sure.
And the payer, what we've seen time and time again, they will pay more money on the claim earlier when they know they can bring that person to a better resolution faster, because it's in their best interest to do so. And everybody gets aligned around solving that health problem, getting that person to the healthiest they can be, keeping them away from addiction to pain meds. All those things are all in everybody's best interest: the health of the individual and the financial health of the payer. We're not doing anything that does. The only people that don't like what we're doing are the people that like to sue other people for supplements.
Yeah.
We're not helping those guys. We're trying to help everybody that really has a goal of getting anybody injured back to 100% health and back to a productive lifestyle as fast as possible.
So one of the things you said a little bit in passing was your first client, and you mentioned this was a bunch of years ago, right? Started working
Yes.
with you. But in the last like 18 months, so much stuff has changed, I would say. Even in the last 6 months, Martin and I spent a lot of time before you joined the show talking about a Microsoft report about work trends and how agentic AI is actually changing the way like people work and workflows change as well. And I'm curious if there's some adoption or absorption into insurers on the agentic side, and just what their view is on this when they think about how to change the workflows that they're doing, particularly when it comes to something like claims. And we can talk about underwriting as well.
Well, I think in either case, they're going to build a lot of stuff themselves. I think the excitement, the desire, the fact that they want to, their data is very sensitive to them. They don't want that floating out in the world so that people can figure out how they price risk and,
For sure.
the types of things.
Well, they
So a
definitely
lot
don't
of
want to put it on a public LLM. That's 100%
Yeah.
for sure. No way.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So they're trying to get to that. And I think they're going to get to a certain amount internally and on their own, because these things are very, powerful, and they get better by the minute. And our job then is to find the things that we can do to add the greatest amount of value to that. So as example, on the claim side, we now can access certain things on an individual with consent on their health history, and do that very early in the life of a claim, very concisely and completely. But then we can turn that through LLMs into different kinds of reports. So if this person's being managed by a nurse, as I gave an example,
Yeah.
we can put a report together about that person's health history that a nurse can use very, very simply, but very directly, to help guide them through their claim treatment, experience. You can also take a different less medical view of that same report and put it in front of an adjuster who just wants to know that there's milestones and time objectives to get things done and completed, because they're trying to quarterback that case. We can take that same report and take it into a different subset and give it to a physical therapist who's now going to be treating this, and so they know the background of previous injuries to that body part. And there's just all sorts of ways you can take this one piece of information, but make everybody more productive, with the ultimate goal of getting the person treated better, sooner, with a faster, more complete recovery. And so that agentic piece allows you to take one thing and use it. Right now we think there's like 17 different ways we could take this information, provide different people with the information they need when they need it to get the best outcome, as an example.
Yeah, and what is the adoption scale kind of look like inside these insurance companies, particularly when it comes to agentic, which is so new? And I'm curious. I mean, maybe you can answer that first, just at scale, what their desire is to have this agentic AI be part of their new workflows, if that's okay to ask.
So I think they're doing it on the fly right now. I think I saw a lot of this in the robotic process automation about 5 years ago. I don't know exactly when that took place. If you saw it, if you had people on your podcast with that. Everybody went crazy
RPA.
putting it everywhere they could.
Yep.
Yeah, just to reduce, busy work and other things, and it did a lot of good things. And I think a lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon with LLMs right now internally. What our experience has been, and both just what I've seen, what the CEOs of these insurance companies tell me, they're going to build a lot of MVP kinds of solutions themselves, and that's fine. It's fun. It's kind of, it allows people to get access to and use this stuff and experience it themselves. But to build real robust production level solutions, they're in some cases are going to reach outside for companies that do it, commercially like us. So I think it's going to be complementary. I think some things we have, actually, what's probably the newest conversation we have with clients more recently than we've ever had before is, can we take your gradient inputs or outputs and combine what we built internally and bring that together as to a solution that's now more configured for us, one individual insurance company, to consume. And we're looking at that saying, that's A, it's yes, we can, and B, this is the best way it's ever been possible to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and the more you bring that together, because we're sort of outside in, we've got data from other companies that they will never have. Your competitors won't share it with them. We're never going to share it with them.
No.
We can train models on patterns and best use cases and best approaches to things, because we see it across multiple companies, and share that knowledge, that insight, that those patterns with their internal tools that give them that better insight, better solutions internally.
So I want to agree with you on this because I think it's really important to make this point. A lot of companies, and let's just stay inside the insurance world, are definitely going to build these POCs, as you said,
100%.
because they want to test it and make sure that it's actually relevant to what they're doing. And to be fair, I think the other thing they want to do is, what's the right word? Attack the workflows that they have and see if there's a way they can change those workflows to make them more efficient using the agentic AI or just any kind of artificial intelligence. I think that makes perfect sense. But because it's not what their core competence is, in my mind, I think they're almost 100% going to go externally. I would say 98%, let's say, going to go externally and say, now that we kind of understand what we want to do, now we need to find somebody to help do that for us, because there's no way we can do that ourselves, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, except I think there's going to be, typically you'll end up with a not invented here group of people that want to build it themselves because they want to build themselves, and they want that fun or the excitement or the whatever it is they want to do to accomplish that.
Maybe.
And I think there's always that tension. And what I've seen more recently, because there's been a lot of money spent on some of these core system and updates and upgrades that have been going on as people move to the clouds, a lot of these companies have come to the realization that things they built on their own are more MVP-ish. In other words, if they wanted to do it themselves, then it takes longer than they expected. It costs more than they expected. At some point, they just say, I'm tired of this. This isn't any fun anymore. And they just stop when it hits a minimally viable capability, and they stop. And I had one CEO of one company who's a relatively young startup, now public insurance company. They came to the realization that all the things they built internally were MVP.
Yeah.
And they just finally gave up on it. They ran out of having fun and ran out of money and time. And they just had to turn it on and use it. And now they look back and say, look at all the things we built, and there's not one of them that it ever hit what we wanted it to be when we started it.
Right.
And so they're in a very different perspective of what should we build and what shouldn't we build. And my background, I've never been in insurance before this startup. I've been in a lot of other industries. Most other industries have already figured out we stick to our core competencies and we outsource for everything else. And I think insurance is a little bit late to that fundamental mental and business model shift of, look, do we really need to do this ourselves? Are we really good at building software? Are we really good at building these things?
Right.
Maybe we should do what we do well, and then and leverage the things that other people do well to make the combination the best it can be.
Yeah, look, I'll give you my perspective on this as well. And I've just based on my experience, we've seen a lot of the insurance companies that we've had on our on our other insurance focus shows before talk about how they built internal platforms and internal systems. And when you dig a little bit deeper, what really happened is they employed somebody externally who white labeled those systems inside of these big insurance companies because it made the most sense and it was the most efficient way to do it. You talked a little bit, I think maybe before we started talking about gradient per se, you mentioned this idea that like these massively large language models could get disintermediated by even smaller ones. Do you think that, or do you see these discussions happening around, let's just have an insurance related LLM that eliminates the necessity, to know about Shakespeare and to know about all these other things that are kind of laughing, but they're kind of irrelevant, right? And it would be way more efficient from a processing standpoint if it didn't have to handle all this other sort of extraneous data. Do you see that happening where these models are going to shrink down and then internally when the underwriters or the claims people or any other sort of operations people inside of insurance companies use it, that it's just going to get way more efficient as well because the model is just so much smaller?
So think about almost any technology wave we've seen out there. At some point, it goes from what I call this, again, my terminology is horizontal, where everybody can use it for a number of things, to where things start to shift to
Yep.
vertical.
Agreed.
And the verticalization allows for that vertical application, somebody to gain a competitive advantage. And I'll use the software programming, the battle that started, between, all LMs are out there. And somebody realized, apparently, like one guy at Anthropic sort of realized, I could use this for, because software programming is a language. If I train this LLM and what my Python language is, it can,
Right.
so forth and so on. And if you look at the way their revenue has jumped, and now the battle lines are being formed around the whole software programming area,
Yeah.
the guys that are going to focus the deepest there are going to win that segment. And this is
Exactly.
where the horizontals go vertical. So what you're pointing to is verticalization is absolutely going to take over the second phase of insurance verticalization, healthcare, manufacturing, you name it, it's going to be verticalized because someone's going to do it so well and gain such a competitive measurable advantage for their users over the generalist that it just shifts. And it's on us, the folks that are in those games, to figure that out and do it and deliver it, where the generalists can never be.
Yeah.
Almost nobody can be a virtually vertical everywhere. It's just almost, we got companies out there that are massive and they can't do it. So it just isn't, it's not financially, physically possible for somebody to boil the entire ocean. They have to figure out what part they should own and target that. And so I do think verticalization is going to be the next phase in this area.
Can we talk a little bit about where AI and even agentic AI fits in the underwriting space? We spent a little bit of time talking about claims, but maybe we talk a little bit about underwriting as well.
Yeah, I think in the stages are gathering the data, doing that faster, pulling it together in a more complete understanding of what's the exposure that someone's trying to get insured, whether that's the broker producer level, whether it's the underwriting, the initial engagement. There's a lot of steps that have been built into these processes that are very fundamental. I got to gather this data. I got to know these previous losses. I got to, and it can be very stage gate and slow and manual and cumbersome. These LMs can do it in instance and still get you the same exact level of detail and accuracy, so you can move faster. They can also indicate directionally where you might want to go.
Right.
And then we're actually pre-calibrating models based on different risk appetites, so that at the very beginning of the life cycle of this submission in underwriting, the first thing that happens is someone requests a quote. They refer to that as submission.
Yep.
Can we profile a submission that this is not going to fit your risk appetite as a carrier? You don't want this risk. It's a class you don't write. It's a state you're not licensed in. Whatever it is, you can eliminate some of the busy work just right up front. You won't write this business. It's not about you don't like it. It's too risky. It's not risky enough. Whatever. It doesn't fit your risk appetite. You don't write these lines of business. And we have a lot of clients they'll turn down 3/4 of their submissions because of that reason, but they have to look at them manually and review it. So that's a lot of work for people to do that.
For no reason.
LMs can do that for no reason, no value add.
Yep.
And there's so many subsequent steps in the process where if you think about lean manufacturing as a concept, if you can look at all the steps they're taking and identify those steps that add value, repeat those, build those into a process. Those that don't add value, eliminate those. You don't need them anymore. Reduce them. That improves efficiency. And we find that's where you start to come into, now they're binding more of the right business. They're a better carrier for their broker partners because now they tend to underwrite more of what gets sent to them. It starts to make the flywheel work better for everybody in the food chain. But ultimately, they want to make sure they underwrite it properly and accurately so they can get the right risk. And AI in smaller risks works better because I think the fundamental of insurance historically has been, when you think about the actuarial math that's been used for decades in insurance, it's fundamentally built on what's called credibility. In other words, if I want to price a particular risk, whether it's property or casualty or anything or health, what I really want is a lot of data on that risk from the past. I want to know how many times they've had these certain losses, whether it's auto accidents, if it's a commercial auto, a trucking business, or if it's a manufacturing company, how many work comp claims do they have a year, times how many plants do they have? Are they building more plants, whatever? And you can build a very practical sort of statistical model that says, okay, if they have 1.5 accidents per plant and they've added 2 more plants, guess what? Our model now tells there'll be 3 more claims next year. And I mean, it's typically that's how they have built it up. If you move down to mid to lower market, where smaller, younger companies haven't been in business 5 years, they haven't had any losses before. How do you take that credibility model and apply it there? It doesn't work. AI can learn from other companies that look like this company, say, you know, companies like this, ownership like this, industries like this, places of work like this, demographics of hired people like this. These are the kind of loss ratios they've had, the claim frequency and the claim severity those companies have had, in a very highly accurate way, can infer from other companies how the losses are likely to be received from this particular risk or a set of risks very accurately. And models can handle limitless number of variables. Humans can handle about 5 to 7.
Right.
So if you're really going to start working on some of these things that are more, there's a lot of data, but a lot of subtlety. You know, healthcare, there's a lot of subtlety. Where the people are, access to healthcare, how much they spent, their conditions, their ages, gender, lots of variables that the models can see millions and millions of times and can have a pretty good accurate indication of what each individual might cost. So it can roll up to a full group and say, okay, here's what this group's going to cost that healthcare carrier to insure. Right now they have the information they need. They can make a good, accurate decision. And if the group is lower risk, they'll get a lower rate, and their premiums will be lower, and their healthcare costs go down. Higher risk, a little bit higher rate, but you know there's certain ranges they stay within. But the bottom line is everybody gets the insurance with a relative price that indicates kind of what they should be paying.
So just a couple more things, and then I'll let you go. Do
Sure.
you think that if you allow artificial intelligence to attack, as you said, the submissions, right? Does it fundamentally allow the insurance companies to actually underwrite more risk as opposed to less risk because they can simply process it faster?
So before LLMs took place, people were doing this. We call it straight through processing. And there's areas where if the policy is under a certain dollar amount, typically for commercial, like less than $10,000, a carrier can't really afford to have it fully underwritten. You can't afford to have somebody open up the file, read it, do the analysis, spend hours on it because they don't make enough money
Right.
if it's a few $1,000s. So they've been doing straight through processing for years. LMs will just make that more accurate, provide more of the information around the risks that you can build, pull in, put into a workflow, and probably have better results of your underwriting by automating that. But again, that's not something that AI opened the door for more of these companies to move down market into small commercial. They couldn't do it before with just fully manual. So they've been trying to find ways to get that because that can be a very big revenue driver for them. So it's
Sure.
they're not getting rid of people, just saying I couldn't get at that market with my current cost structure, my current process.
Right. I mean, they can underwrite more.
technology
They can
allows for
underwrite
more.
more risk that's going to be less risky and hence make more money. If they want to let people off to do this, they'll just have more processing power to be able to do it.
And by the way, one of my observations is the big insurance companies that didn't like small risks, they weren't sure about it. The
Right.
way they managed their risk, they priced it higher because of the uncertainty.
Sure.
So that the people that were buying that insurance paid more, not because they should have paid more. They paid more because the carrier was less
Yep.
certain. And certainty will drive more liquidity in the marketplace. That liquidity means more price, transparency, and prices tend to be more aligned with what they should be when that
Got
happens.
it. And one more thing, and then I'll let you go.
Sure.
How important is it for this artificial intelligence to actually be explainable to people, like so that it's not so black boxish, if that makes sense?
I think the trade-off is, to some degree, there are things that you should understand about it. These things will never be perfect. They never have been. They never will be.
For sure.
But they get better. I do think what people think about is, well, are you trying to explain the math, or are you trying to explain the logic? Because my wife doesn't use GPS because she knows her direction skills are really great,
Right.
but she does use it now for identifying when there's traffic jams, accidents, other problems that she can't know.
Right.
So
Right.
she
Right.
doesn't even understand how that works. She doesn't care. It gives her the information she needs when she needs it. And I think the way these explainability models should work is give you the information you need when you need it to make that decision where you can do it confidently. So it's, for the very beginning, we started this business over a dozen years ago. People want to know what the math was doing.
Right.
I don't think really want to know what the math is doing, because the math is really complex. And when you explain it, most people
Don't understand.
probably wouldn't understand it.
Yeah,
But they would
exactly.
like to understand that it's the location of this business that adds some risk. They would like to understand it's the the turnover. This is a business that has, we've got certain companies that have 400% of their employees turnover every year. Um, and so we would point to the fact that there's a high turnover rate. Well, maybe nobody realized that in that business, for that kind of business, the turnover rate is actually that high. okay, that's novel. That's information that I can use, and that helps me understand why I should be thinking about this differently.
Got it. Okay, Stan. Thank you so much for coming and doing this today. I really
course.
appreciate it. And I wanted to tell you one more thing, and then I let you go.
Please.
I grew up in a place called Nantasket Beach, which I wanted to save until the end, so you could
All
smile.
right.
So you could smile about something.
There you go.
I've been in the town where you live for sure, probably. Anyway, have a great day. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing
Thanks
this.
for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Okay, that was awesome. It was great to talk to Stan about that. That's it today for AGTP Daily. Thank you again for joining us. As always, give us a thumbs up on today's video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow us on all our socials, on X, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, everywhere we publish stuff. Let us know in the comments if there's anything you would like us to cover. And if you have any questions for us, always feel free when we're doing the show as well to participate at any level you want. Leave stuff in the chat. If we see it, we will answer those questions as well. My name is Michael Waits. Martin Runford also joined us as always for today. We will be back again at the same time tomorrow. Bye for now.